everyone, my name is Meg, and today I'm going to be reading to you one of my favorite books. It is called A Different Pond, and it was written by Bao Fee, and it was illustrated by T. Bowie. Now, before we get started, I want to go through with you what we're going to find in this book and what this book is about. So right now, I'm going to share my screen. If you give me just a moment. Have you ever heard someone saying, "It is raining cats and dogs out there"? Does that mean that cats and dogs are actually falling from the sky? No, it doesn't. What they mean is that it's raining really, really hard. This is something called figurative language. Can everybody say that with me one more time? 1, 2, 3. Figurative language. Let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Figurative language. Figurative means it's not literally happening, as in it's not literally raining cats and dogs outside, but this is a term that we use to say it's raining really, really hard. Another form of figurative language is when people say time is just flying by. Does that mean that the clocks have sprouted wings and they're flying through the sky? No, it's a way of somebody using figurative language to say, I'm having so much fun, I don't even recognize what time it is. Time is just passing by as quickly as if it were flying. This is a great use of figurative language. Now this book, A Different Pond, is about fishing. Have you ever gone fishing? I've never gone fishing before, but I've seen people go fishing. This is a picture of a man who is going fishing. He's holding his fishing line on his fishing pole, and the line is going into the water. You can see where the splashes are coming up. There's a few different things in this book that they use to describe fishing. One is a fishing pole. Like I said, this is where the bait goes. Now, bait is something that they use to catch the big fish. Sometimes it can be a worm on the end of the fishing pole. Sometimes it can be a really tiny fish. In this book, they use minnows to bait the bigger fish. Another thing that they talk about in this book is a tackle box, which is shown right here. A tackle box is something that fishermen use to hold all of their fishing supplies. Another aspect of this book is that there are characters in this book that are from Vietnam. Vietnam is a country that is in between China and Thailand and Cambodia. You can see it in orange on the screen. That's Vietnam. In the book, A Different Pond that I'm about to read, the main character's dad grew up in Vietnam. And he talks about fishing when he was a boy in Vietnam. Now he fishes in America with his son. As you can see by these bottom two pictures, there's a lot of water in Vietnam, so they fish a lot in Vietnam. And they fish to catch fish for food. When they fish in the morning, a lot of times they'll cook up that food and they'll eat it for dinner that night. So they'll catch fish in the morning and eat fish for dinner. And that's what's happening in this book, A Different Pond. Fishing is an example of a tradition that the dad is passing down to his son. It's a tradition because he grew up fishing and now he's fishing with his son. One aspect of this book is that it uses a lot of figurative language, like we talked about before. There's one example from the book that says, the minnows swam like silver arrows. Minnows are a type of fish. They're really teeny tiny fish that they use in this book as bait to catch the bigger fish. Now remember, the bait is what we put on the hook of the fishing line. So we can say the fish swam like silver arrows. Are the fish actually silver arrows flying through the sky? No. The author is using this figurative language to describe the fish. He's saying the fish swim really, really fast, just like they were arrows flying fast through the sky. So this is another way of saying the fish swim fast. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we are going to go ahead and read this book. A Different Pond. Written by Bao Fei and illustrated by T. Bowie. The illustrator, T. Bowie, dedicates this book for the working class and all of the young dudes. The author, Bao Fei, dedicates this book for my family and for refugees everywhere. Dad wakes me up quietly, so Mom can keep sleeping. It will be hours before the sun comes up. In the kitchen, the bare bulb is burning. Dad has been up for a while, making sandwiches and packing the car. Can I help? I ask. Sure, my dad whispers, and he hands me the tackle box. Now you remember, the tackle box is what fishermen use to keep all of their fishing supplies. The streetlights look brighter, and the roads aren't so busy before the sun comes up. Dad turns on the heater and tells me stories. A kid at my school said my dad's English sounds like a thick, dirty river. But to me, his English sounds like a gentle rain. This is an example of figurative language, like we talked about before. His dad's English doesn't really sound like a river, especially a dirty river, but he's using that to describe the way that others say his dad's English sounds. They're saying that it sounds not very clear, not very refined. But to him, his dad's English sounds like a gentle rain. It's comforting, it's soft. We stop at the bait store on Lake Street. It always seems to be open. You're here early today, the bait man says. I got a second job, my dad explains. I have to work this morning. On a Saturday? The bait man asks, and my dad nods. I feel the bag of minnows move. They swim like silver arrows in my hands. There's that example of figurative language that we pointed out. And here, the minnows, they're buying the minnows from the bait shop because they're going to use them when they're fishing. It's still dark when we get to the pond. We park the car and climb over the divider between the road and the trees. My dad holds my hand and walks ahead through the tangle and the scrub. Step where I step, he says. I am thinking about what Dad told the bait man. If you got another job, why do we still have to fish for food? I ask. Everything in America costs a lot of money, he explains. I feel calluses on his hand when he squeezes mine. Calluses are hard spots on hands when you're working a lot. So this is showing that his dad works a lot. Sometimes a Hmong man is at the pond. He speaks English, like my dad, and he likes to tell funny jokes. Sometimes there's a black man there too. He shows me his colorful lure collection. This time, it is just me and my dad. It is a little bit cold. I rub my hands together, yawn, and look up to see faint stars like freckles. As Dad sets up in a clearing, I gather small, thin twigs for a fire. They need to be dry and clean. I put some rocks in a circle and set up the twigs. Like a volcano, Dad reminds me. I set one end of each twig down, the other up, leaning them in so they can rest against each other and hold each other up. I get to light it with just one match. Dad nods. You can see the volcano that he's building with the twigs right there. You want to put a minnow on the hook? Dad asks. They're getting ready to fish. They're going to use the minnow to catch the big fish. I want to help, but I shake my head no. I don't want to hurt that little fish, even if I know it is about to be eaten by a bigger one. My dad smiles. He isn't upset with me. Dad hands me a sandwich, cold bologna between two pieces of bread. Careful of the spicy stuff, he says. There's half a peppercorn, like a moon split in two, studded into the meat. I used to fish by a pond like this when I was a boy in Vietnam, Dad says, biting into his sandwich. With your brother, I ask. He nods, then he looks away. Dad tells me about the war, but only sometimes. He and his brother fought side by side. One day, his brother didn't come home. The bobber dips in the dark and Dad pulls. When the bobber dips, that means there's a big fish on the line. You can see the bobber right there in the water. Got one, Dad says, almost shouting. He nods and I use two hands to help guide the fish into the bucket. The fish feels slimy and rough at the same time. Dad laughs at the funny face I make. I'd make a funny face too if I was grabbing a slimy fish. Dad smiles, his teeth broken and white in the dark because we have a few fish and he knows we will eat tonight. Time to go home. Dad must get ready for work. He washes his hands with a small nub of green and white soap. Then I do the same. I look at the trees as we walk back to the car. I wonder what the trees look like at the other pond, in the country my dad comes from. He's thinking about what the pond his dad fished at in Vietnam looks like. By the time we get home, the sunlight coming through the windows is just a faint tint, blue and gray instead of gold. At home, Mom looks tired, but she smiles at the fish in the big white bucket. My dad changes his clothes and gets ready to go to work. He pats me on the back and says to Mom, "Our boy did a good job with the fire today." I'm sad that she and Dad must leave, but not too sad. I know that later on they will both come home. Look after your baby brother, Mom reminds my brothers and sisters. She means me. Then she gets on her bike and she goes to work. I am not a baby, I think to myself. I helped catch dinner. Tonight, when we are all home, Dad will put rice in the cooker and Mom will fry the fish on both sides until they are crispy. I will bring out the jar of fish sauce that has flecks of chili pepper and carrots floating at top. At the table, my brothers and sisters will tell funny stories. Mom will ask about their homework, Dad will nod and smile, and eat with his eyes half closed. Good fish, he will say to me. They're eating the fish that they caught this morning, and now they're eating it for dinner. And I will smile and nod, and later when we sleep, we will dream of fish in far away ponds. The end. What did you guys think of the story? What were some of your favorite parts of it? Do you remember when the boy and his dad caught a fish? That was my favorite part of the story. Do you remember what the story taught you about fishing? Now I'm going to share my screen again, and we are going to go through a little bit of more information. Okay, so talking about figurative language again, I want you to think of a way to finish this sentence. She can swim as fast as a blank. What do you think you want to fill in that sentence with? What is something that you can think of that swims really, really fast? Or that is really, really fast? Give it a couple seconds to think about that. Here are some possible answers I came up with. She can swim as fast as a fish. She can swim as fast as a dolphin. She can swim as fast as a boat. Oops, that's not supposed to be crossed out. Sorry about that. These are all things that swim really, really fast or move really, really fast in the water. So this is a great example of using figurative language to show how fast she can swim. Let's go through one more example. The elephant is as big as a blank. What are some things that you can think of that are really, really big? Let's think for a couple of seconds. Here are some answers that I came up with. The elephant is as big as a house. The elephant is as big as a train. The elephant is as big as a soccer field. These were some of the biggest things I could think of. What did you think of to finish the sentence? All right, now I want to do one more example of figurative language. I want you to fill in this sentence. Reading this book was as fun as blank. What can you think of that's really, really fun? I would say reading this book was as fun as riding a roller coaster. Because I had a lot of fun reading this book to you today, and I have a lot of fun riding roller coasters. What does your sentence say? Go ahead and tell me now. Awesome job. Hey, I think it would be really great if you drew a picture that goes along with your sentence. I think I will go do that now. Thank you all for letting me read to you today. I hope you have a wonderful day.